Welcome. Today, we're doing a deep dive into just one source, but it's one that's making a lot of noise in the business world, tackling something pretty much every entrepreneur runs into.
That's right. And our source today, it's the Amazon listing for Alex Hormozi's $100 Leads book. How to get strangers to want to buy your stuff.
Right, the listing itself.
Yeah, it's surprisingly detailed. It gives you a real look at the core promises, the book structure, and you could see what readers are really latching onto.
Exactly. So, our mission here is to really dig into that listing, plus the reviews, and unpack the key strategies, maybe some surprising bits, and the practical advice this book claims it offers.
Mm.
We want you to get a clear sense of what this material is all about and maybe why so many people are talking about it.
Yeah, it's about cutting through maybe some of the hype and getting to the core ideas presented for solving that big business problem.
hmm
How do you consistently get more leads?
Okay, let's jump right in then. The big promise right up front on the listing, it's bold. Saying you can potentially like 2x, 10x, even 100x your leads
Wow.
without changing anything about what you sell. That almost sounds too easy. Too good to be true, maybe.
Well, what's interesting is how he frames it. The author basically says, look, for most businesses, the real problem isn't the offer, it's the leads.
Okay.
And he uses his own story, going from very little to this big portfolio, supposedly doing $200 million a year, getting over 20,000 leads
Yeah.
a day
Wow, 20,000 a day.
across like 16 industries.
Aha.
Those numbers, they definitely make you pay attention.
They really do. 20,000 leads. So what's the secret sauce then, according to the listing? What are the actual mechanisms he lays out?
Well, the listing highlights these 8 never-go-hungry playbooks. That's what he calls them.
Okay, playbooks.
Yeah, framed as repeatable systems.
Hmm.
Ways to get leads that supposedly once you get them seem kind of obvious.
Yeah.
Essential even.
8 specific ones. Okay, let's look at a couple of the description mentions. What jumps out as really actionable?
Well, there's one promise about the easiest way to get another 5 customers tomorrow. That sounds super immediate, right?
Yeah, like something you can do right away.
And then there's a big focus on content, how to actually turn your videos, your articles, social posts into leads.
That's huge. If you're already creating content, that's key. Does the listing mention a specific system for that?
It does, yeah. It talks about a hook, retain, reward system just for
It's
content.
retain reward. Okay.
Doesn't fully detail it in the listing, of
Yeah.
course, but the name suggests grabbing attention, keeping it, and then, guiding them somewhere.
Almost makes sense.
And there's also a specific 6-part ad framework mentioned,
Mhm.
designed to make cold strangers interested. And even, get this, the one question that immediately turns any stranger into a hot lead.
Okay, one question.
That-
That's
that-
quite a claim. It gets even more tactical, though, right? The
Uh-huh.
listing mentions referral methods.
Yes, 7 direct referral methods. Says they account for 30% of his sales. And an affiliate playbook, too, getting other businesses to advertise for you for free, essentially.
So it sounds like it covers a lot of ground.
It seems to, yeah. If you piece it together from the listing, it looks like it hits referrals, affiliates, content, paid ads, a wide spectrum.
Hmm.
He even mentions getting people off the streets, getting you leads in under 2 weeks.
Wow. And the listing really pushes the practicality, saying you can use these playbooks within an hour of reading.
Right.
That definitely signals a focus on action, like no fluff, which, judging by the reviews, people really seem to like.
Yeah, that comes through. And beyond just the specific playbooks, the listing and the reviews hint at some bigger principles, underlying frameworks.
Okay, like what?
Well, the publisher's summary makes this simplifying claim.
Hmm.
There are only 8 ways any business can advertise, period.
Only 8 ways. That's
Yeah.
interesting. It simplifies things, I guess.
Right. If you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe that helps. They also mention a what, who, when copywriting framework. Supposedly it works on any platform.
What, who, when? Okay. So is the idea that you need to be an amazing copywriter, or is it about the framework?
Well, that's the interesting part. The author apparently says he's always been good enough to make money, implying, the system is the key.
So the framework does the heavy lifting, not necessarily like raw talent.
That seems to be the implication. And scaling. The listing talks about scaling predictably from, say, 1,000 leads a month to 1,000 an hour. Using leverage, especially in ads.
An hour. Okay, that's a different level.
Yeah, and this ties into what one really detailed review pulled out. Key concepts from the book itself, like volume.
Volume, as in just doing a lot.
Really much. Described as an inputs and outputs game. You got to do a lot of the right stuff efficiently. The review mentions this idea. Do 100 reach outs for 100 days straight.
Whoa, 100 a day for 100 days.
Yeah. The point being, you get results, sure, but you also learn incredibly fast, like more in those first 10 days of action than from just studying.
That makes sense.
Oh.
Trial by fire. But what about, not annoying people with all that volume? Building trust.
Good question. That same review highlights etiquette,
How?
summed up as give in public, ask in private.
Give in public, ask in private.
The idea is put out massive value openly. Let people find you, consume your stuff, and then they self-select and come to you when they're ready. You're not chasing them down cold.
So it's learn about the hard sell up front.
Exactly. Give way more than you ask.
Yeah.
The principle mentioned was give until they ask.
Mhm.
Apparently, he even gives templates for, like, cold emails that add value without being pushy.
Give until they ask. I like that framing. It feels different.
It does. Then there's efficiency,
Mm-hmm.
which is all about systems and training. Training yourself, your team with checklists,
Mm-hmm.
even training affiliates like their customers.
Okay.
The review even mentioned hiring an agency just to learn how their best people operate, then bringing that in-house.
Interesting. Sort of learning by acquisition. And the lead magnet, you mentioned readers highlighting that. Thousands of Kindle highlights on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The lead magnet concept seems huge. It's presented as not just any free thing, but the best part of your product, given away free.
The best part, really?
Well, the key insight, according to the review, is that it has to be a complete solution, but for a very narrow, specific problem.
Okay, narrow problem. Got it.
And once that specific problem is solved by the lead magnet, it should naturally reveal the next bigger problem, the one your main paid offer solves.
Ah, so it's not just a sample. It's like a strategic first step. It qualifies them almost.
Exactly. It attracts people already dealing with that type of issue, making them way more likely to buy the next solution. It's a bridge.
That's a real aha moment. It's strategic, not just generous.
Precisely. And one last concept from that review, the open-to-goal attitude.
Open to goal. What's that?
It's more of a mindset thing,
Yeah.
less about tactics. It's committing fully to achieving the outcome, the result, no matter what it takes.
So not just checking off tasks like, I made 100 calls today.
Right. It's about, I will get X result, and I'll keep adjusting and pushing until I do. It's presented as the drive you need to actually do the volume and efficiency stuff until it works.
That shift, just focusing purely on the outcome, that feels powerful. It could change how someone approaches everything.
It seems like it's positioned that way, like the engine driving the whole system.
Okay, so we've got these playbooks, these principles, volume, etiquette, efficiency, lead magnets, this open-to-goal mindset. What does this actually mean for you, the listener? How are people actually finding this book? The reviews give us a good clue, right?
Oh, yeah. The reception on Amazon is exceptionally positive. It's sitting at 4.9 stars out of
Yeah.
5, with over 6,000 ratings.
4.9 with that many ratings, that's really high.
It is. And it's a #1 bestseller in several business categories. The themes you see over and over in the positive reviews are things like highly informative, life-changing even.
Life-changing, wow.
Yeah. And practical advice, easy to grasp, actionable. One review literally counted 62 actionable pro tips.
62. Okay. People seem to really value the practicality.
Definitely. They highlight the clear structure, the no-fluff approach. There was one reviewer who mentioned having a master's degree in business
Yeah.
and said these concepts were explained more clearly here than in their entire formal education.
Okay, that says a lot, especially if you want powerful info without wading through, like, academic jargon.
Exactly. The language gets called simple, the approach step by step. People felt it simplifies the entire process, gave them all the clarity they needed, especially if they were feeling stuck.
And the value for money comes up, too.
Repeatedly. Some saying it provides more value than any other course they've paid for.
And does it seem to work for different people, like beginners versus experienced folks?
It appears so. Reviews seem to come from beginners just starting out, and from seasoned entrepreneurs maybe looking to scale up or just refresh their approach.
Yeah.
There was one from a 53-year-old who felt their old school smile and dial marketing was just stale, and this book gave him a totally fresh way to think about prospecting.
That's great. And the focus on being actionable, providing a blueprint or a strategy document that suggests it's not just theory people are getting?
Right. One person even mentioned that actually measuring the small wins as you implement the steps is key for staying motivated, which makes sense, especially with something like that 100 by 100 volume idea.
Yeah, you need those wins. Now, it sounds overwhelmingly positive, but any criticisms, any downsides mentioned?
There were some, yeah. That one very detailed review, while praising the content's value, did point out some issues with the style.
Style issues, like what?
Things like grammar mistakes, finding some of the conversational bits maybe a little mindless. Also, feeling the constant talk about money and the big hyperbolic stories could come across as distasteful or like braggadocio.
Ah, okay. So the content is valuable, but the delivery or the author's voice might not land well with everyone.
Exactly. It's a potential disconnect for some readers, it seems. That same review also made a really important point about scope.
Okay.
The book is purely about getting leads for something you already sell. It apparently doesn't cover ideation at all.
Right, so it won't help you figure out what to sell or if your idea is good in the first place.
Correct. Its focus is laser sharp. Lead generation, once you have an offer.
Okay, that gives us a much more balanced view then. Incredibly practical, actionable content on leads, huge value according to most, but maybe a writing style preference and a very specific focus.
Yeah, that seems to be the picture from the listing and reviews. A specific tool for a specific job presented in a very distinct voice.
So wrapping this deep dive up, looking just at this Amazon listing in the field out,
Yeah.
it really paints a picture of a book promising a very systematized, very actionable way to tackle that core business challenge, getting leads, almost like building a lead machine.
Absolutely. It seems to lay out these concrete playbooks backed by principles like, massive volume, this value first etiquette, give until they ask, efficiency in your processes, smart use of lead magnets as that strategic bridge, and driving it all with that relentless open-to-goal results focus.
Yeah, and the goal seems to be cutting through all the complexity, giving you a clear blueprint, practical steps, delivering what readers are overwhelmingly describing as just immense, maybe even game-changing value, if you actually do the work, of course.
Right. The emphasis is clearly heavily on implementation, on getting tangible results by following these repeatable processes.
So maybe here's a thought for you to take away today. If getting strangers, people who don't know you, to actually want to buy your stuff feels kind of like a mystery right now, how much could it change things if you clarified your approach into specific, repeatable playbooks? If you really leaned into consistent volume, focused on giving value first?
Yeah.
Could that fundamentally shift the results you're getting?